"Please end it," the injured alien girl pleaded, completely broken until he lifted the blanket and Dr. Marcus Webb stepped off the transport shuttle and into the sterile white corridors of Celestial Hope Medical Station. The station floated silently in orbit around Theta Prime, a massive structure that served as the primary hospital for 3 different star systems. Marcus carried only a small medical bag. He had received the emergency call just 6 hours ago while teaching at the Earth Medical Academy. The message was brief but urgent. They needed human medical expertise immediately. A tall Velkir doctor named Torin met him at the docking bay. The alien physician had smooth gray skin that sparkled faintly under the station lights. His 4 arms moved nervously as he spoke. "Dr. Webb, thank you for coming so quickly," Torin said through his translator device. "We have exhausted every option. The patient refuses all treatment now. She only asks for one thing." Others whispered among themselves. Marcus could feel the weight of something heavy hanging in the air. They stopped outside an isolation room. Through the transparent wall, Marcus could see a figure lying motionless under a silver thermal blanket. Only her head was visible. She appeared young, perhaps equivalent to a human teenager. Her skin had a delicate blue tint with crystalline patterns that ran along her temples. Those patterns should have glowed with bioluminescent light, but they looked dim and lifeless. "Her name is Zira," Torin explained quietly. "She was traveling with her family when their transport suffered a mechanical failure. The crash killed her parents instantly. Zira survived, but her injuries are severe. Our specialists have examined her thoroughly. The damage to her spinal column is complete. She will never walk again. She will never fly. Our entire culture celebrates flight and dance. Our ceremonies, our art, our social bonds, everything requires physical grace. For Zira to lose this ability means losing everything that makes life worth living for our kind. She understands this. She has asked us repeatedly to end her suffering. We wanted to give her every chance before we honor her request. But I must be honest, Dr. Webb. I do not think there is anything you can do. The injury is beyond repair by any medical technology we possess. May I examine her?" He pulled up a chair and sat down beside Zira. Her eyes remained closed. "Zira," he said gently, "my name is Marcus. I'm a doctor from Earth. I came to see if I might help you." They were large and golden, filled with an ocean of pain that made Marcus's chest tighten. When she spoke, her voice came out as barely a whisper. The translator on the wall rendered her words into English. "Another doctor, another false hope. Please just let me go. I am already gone. This is not living. This is existing as a broken thing. Do what you wish. It changes nothing. I felt the moment my spine broke. I felt my legs go silent. I know what that means for my people. I will never dance at the Festival of Lights. I will never soar through the crystal caverns of my homeworld. I will never feel the wind beneath my wings again. What life is that?" What he saw confirmed Torin's assessment. The medical scans displayed on nearby monitors showed the extent of the damage. Zira's lower spine had suffered catastrophic trauma. By Velkir medical standards, and by the standards of most species in the galaxy, this injury was indeed irreversible. The girl would never walk again using her own legs, but Marcus saw something else. He saw an opportunity that the other doctors had completely missed. He studied the scans more carefully, his mind racing through possibilities. The Velkir physiology was different from humans, but not incompatible with certain technologies. The neural pathways were intact above the injury site. Her brain function was perfect. Her upper body had healed well from the crash. Marcus pulled out his personal communication device and began typing rapidly. He sent urgent messages to colleagues on Earth, to research facilities, to specialists in adaptive technology. Then he turned back to Zira. "I need you to listen to me very carefully," Marcus said, his voice firm but kind. What I'm about to tell you might sound impossible. It might sound like fantasy. But I promise you, everything I say is true. For the first time since the accident, a tiny flicker of light pulsed through the crystalline patterns on Zira's temples. Zira stared at Marcus with confusion spreading across her face. The crystalline patterns on her temples flickered once, then went dark again. She had heard those words before from well-meaning doctors who did not understand Velkir culture, empty promises that meant nothing. "You speak words without meaning," Zira said quietly. "I appreciate your kindness, human doctor, but please do not give me false hope. It is crueler than the truth. Tell me, Zira, do you know much about Earth? You are considered primitive by most standards. We never had natural flight. We were stuck on the ground, slow and vulnerable. But we learned something important. We learned that limitations can be overcome through creativity and determination." Dr. Torin watched from outside the isolation room, his four arms crossed in obvious doubt. "Let me tell you about a human named Sarah," Marcus continued. "She was a dancer, one of the most talented performers on Earth. When she was 20 years old, she suffered an accident that damaged her spine in a way very similar to your injury. She could no longer use her legs. By the standards of old Earth, her dancing career was over. Her life as she knew it was finished. She designed a special chair that moved with her thoughts. She learned to express art through different movements. Within 2 years, she was performing again. She became even more famous than before. She showed the world that dance is not about legs. Dance is about expression, passion, and the human spirit. Then perhaps it is time for your culture to grow. But first, let me show you what is possible." She watched with growing curiosity as the projections showed humans in various situations. Some were using wheeled chairs with elegant designs. Others wore mechanical legs that moved smoothly. Still others flew through the air using anti-gravity harnesses. "These are humans who face challenges similar to yours," Marcus explained. "They lost the ability to walk or move in traditional ways, but they found new ways. They invented tools and technology that gave them freedom again. Some even gained abilities they never had before. Technology gave her what nature did not. And that same technology, adapted for your physiology, could give you back your sky. Webb, I appreciate what you are trying to do, but our people have strict cultural beliefs. Even if Zira could use such devices, she would be seen as unnatural, artificial, no longer truly Velkir. And how many other Velkir have suffered similar injuries? How many have chosen to end their lives because they believed there was no other option? In the past decade, 17 young Velkir have made such choices after severe physical trauma. It is always a tragedy, but we respect their decision. We believe in honoring the wishes of those who cannot bear to live in a diminished state. Every person has value. Every life deserves the chance to continue if the individual wishes it. The only question that matters is this: Zira, if you could fly again, even using artificial means, would you want to live?" Her golden eyes filled with tears that sparkled like tiny crystals. For a long moment, she said nothing. The only sound was the beeping of medical equipment and the soft hum of the station's environmental systems. "I do not know," Zira finally admitted. "I cannot imagine such a thing. To fly without wings, to move without legs. It seems impossible, like a dream that will disappear when I wake. Let me bring equipment and specialists from my homeworld. Let me show you what is possible. If after seeing everything you still wish to give up, I will respect that choice. But give yourself this chance first. Give yourself the opportunity to discover that your story does not have to end here." The athletes competing in games designed for different abilities. Something small sparked in her heart. Something she thought had died in the crash that killed her parents. "1 week," she whispered. "I will wait 1 week. That's all I ask." Torin and his medical staff watched with fascination as human engineers and doctors unloaded strange devices from the cargo bay. Marcus stood in the station's main conference room, organizing his team. He had assembled 12 specialists in various fields. There were neural interface experts, mobility device engineers, physical therapists, and adaptive technology designers. Each person brought unique skills that would contribute to helping Zira. Our goal is simple, Marcus explained to his team. We need to show this young girl that her life has not ended. We need to give her tools that will return her independence and joy. But we also need to do something bigger. We need to show an entire species that physical difference does not equal worthlessness. Elena Rodriguez, a specialist in adaptive robotics, raised her hand. What do we know about Valkyr physiology? Their bodies are quite different from human anatomy. Their bones are lighter but incredibly strong. The neural connections from brain to body are similar enough to human biology that our interface technology should work with modifications. The main challenge will be designing devices that feel natural to someone whose people have evolved for flight. The young Valkyr watched through the transparent wall as these strange aliens from a distant world built things she could not understand. Machines hummed. Holographic blueprints floated in the air. Heated discussions in English filled the corridors as the team debated designs and tested prototypes. Dr. Torin visited Marcus on the second day. The Valkyr physician's 4 arms carried data pads filled with medical information. I must admit, Dr. Webb, your team's dedication is impressive, but I remain concerned. Even if you succeed in creating these devices, the cultural resistance will be enormous. The Valkyr Council of Elders holds great power. They may forbid such technology as unnatural interference with fate. Sometimes the best argument is not words, but living proof. Sarah herself used a sophisticated wheelchair, having lost the use of her legs in a climbing accident years ago. She visited Zira each morning to talk and share stories. When I first woke up in the hospital after my accident, Sarah told Zira one morning, I felt exactly like you do now. I thought my life was over. I was a mountain climber. My entire identity was built around physical strength and adventure. Losing my legs felt like losing myself. I still climb mountains, Zira. I use different methods now, but I still reach the peaks. I still feel the wind on my face. I still experience that moment of triumph when I overcome a difficult challenge. Not everyone did at first. Some people pitied me. Others treated me like I was fragile or broken, but I refused to accept their limited view. I showed them through my actions that I was still capable, still valuable, still me. Eventually, most came around. And those who did not, well, their opinion mattered less than my own happiness. She watched videos of human adaptive athletes performing incredible feats. She saw wheelchair dancers moving with grace that rivaled any traditional performance. She observed people with mechanical limbs running, jumping, and living with complete freedom. On the 4th day, Marcus entered her room with Dr. Elena Rodriguez. They carried a sleek device that looked like a combination of jewelry and technology. It was a neural crown, designed specifically for Valkyr physiology. This is the first piece, Marcus explained, holding it carefully. It will read the signals from your brain and translate them into commands for the mobility devices we are building. May we try fitting it? Elena carefully placed the crown on her head. It adjusted automatically to fit her skull structure, the metal warming to match her body temperature. Tiny sensors made contact with specific points along her temples and the base of her skull. How does it feel? Elena asked. Strange, Zira admitted, but not uncomfortable. I can feel something like a gentle humming. Tomorrow, we will connect it to a simple training program. You will learn to control external devices using only your thoughts. Medical staff from various species found reasons to pass by the temporary laboratory. They whispered among themselves about the humans who refused to accept impossible situations. Some were curious, others were skeptical. A few were openly critical, believing the humans were giving false hope to a girl who should accept her fate with dignity. But inside the isolation room, something remarkable was happening. For the first time since the accident that killed her parents and shattered her spine, Zira laughed. It was a small laugh, triggered by a silly joke Sarah had told. But that sound echoed through the corridors like music, catching the attention of everyone who heard it. Doctor. Torin stood outside the room, watching through the transparent wall. His expression was thoughtful. The sixth day arrived with electric anticipation throughout Celestial Hope Medical Station. Marcus and his team had barely slept, making final adjustments to the device they had spent nearly a week perfecting. In her room, Zira sat propped up in bed, the neural crown now a familiar presence on her head. Her crystalline patterns glowed with nervous energy. Doctor. Elena Rodriguez entered carrying a device that looked like flowing liquid metal. When light touched it, rainbow colors danced across its surface. The device was shaped like an elegant harness with extensions that would wrap around Zira's torso and limbs. "This is it," Elena said softly, her voice filled with pride. "The mobility harness. It uses anti-gravity technology combined with neural interface controls. You will think about movement and the harness will respond. It will give you freedom in 3 dimensions, just like natural flight." Torin and several other Velkir medical staff. Word had spread through the station, and a small crowd gathered outside the isolation room to witness this moment. "Are you ready?" Marcus asked Zira. The young Velkir took a deep breath, fear and hope mixed in her golden eyes. "I do not know what ready feels like anymore, but I want to try." When the final connection clicked into place, the neural crown and harness linked together. A soft blue glow emanated from the connection points. "The system is reading your neural patterns," Elena explained, watching data scroll across her handheld monitor. "Try thinking about moving your hand. We are all here and the system has multiple safety features. You cannot fall." She was floating, suspended half a meter above the medical bed. "Oh," Zira breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. The crystalline patterns on her temples burst into brilliant light, colors dancing across them in patterns of pure joy. "Now," Marcus said gently, "think about moving forward, just a thought. The harness will do the rest." She drifted forward smoothly, her body horizontal as if swimming through invisible water. The watching crowd outside gasped. Several Velkir staff pressed closer to the transparent wall, their own crystalline patterns glowing with emotion. "Try turning," Sarah Chen called encouragingly from her wheelchair. "Think about spinning." Tears streamed down her face, but they were not tears of sadness anymore. "I am flying," she whispered in disbelief. "I am actually flying." "You would have more space to practice." She looked around at all the faces watching her. Some showed amazement, others showed joy. A few Velkir doctors had tears in their eyes. Dr. Torin stepped forward. "Zira," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "would you show us something? Would you perform the greeting of dawn? It is the first movement all young Velkir learn." It was how Velkir greeted each other in flight, a gesture of peace and friendship. Zira hesitated. She had not performed this movement since before the accident. Could she do it with the harness? Would it respond correctly to such complex instructions? "You can do this," Marcus said quietly. "Trust yourself, trust the technology. They are one now." She thought about the 3 loops. Her body responded, rising higher and spinning in perfect circles. 1, 2, 3. Then she thought about the descending spiral. The harness carried her downward in a graceful corkscrew pattern. Finally, she extended her arms wide, stopping smoothly in front of Dr. Torin. The corridor erupted in sound. The gathered crowd cheered, whistled, and called out in their various languages. The Velkir staff touched their own temples in a gesture of profound respect. Several were openly crying. Dr. Torin stepped forward and performed the greeting of dawn in response, though his feet remained on the ground. "Welcome back to the sky, young one," he said, his voice breaking. "Welcome home." She rose to touch the ceiling, dove toward the floor, spun and twisted with growing confidence. Marcus watched with satisfaction, but he knew this was only the beginning. The real challenge still lay ahead. They had proven the technology worked. Now they needed to prove it to an entire civilization. News of Zira's flight spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within days, every major news network was broadcasting footage of the young Velkir girl soaring through the corridors of Celestial Hope Medical Station. Her story touched hearts across 100 worlds. But nowhere did it create more impact than on her own homeworld of Velkara Prime. The Velkir Council of Elders convened an emergency session. 12 ancient Velkir gathered in their traditional meeting chamber, a vast dome carved from crystal that caught sunlight and scattered it into 1,000 colors. They had watched the recordings of Zira multiple times. Now they debated what it meant for their people. Elder Syrax, the oldest among them, spoke first. His crystalline patterns had faded with age, showing barely any light. This human technology disturbs the natural order. We have always believed that those who cannot fly naturally should be released to join their ancestors with dignity. This girl uses machines to mimic what she has lost. It is not the same as true flight. I watched her perform the greeting of dawn. The movements were perfect. Her joy was genuine. Are we so rigid in our thinking that we would deny our children the chance to live because they do not fit our narrow definition of proper? Meanwhile, on Celestial Hope Medical Station, Marcus received an unexpected message. The Velkir Council wished to visit the station. They wanted to see Zira in person and evaluate this human technology themselves. 3 days later, the council arrived. Marcus, his team, and Dr. Torin greeted them in the main docking bay. The 12 elders moved with the grace of a people born to the sky, though several showed signs of age affecting their movements. "Dr. Webb," Elder Syrax said through his translator, "we have come to witness what you have created. We must determine if this technology represents hope or false promise for our people. But I believe every individual deserves the choice to continue their life with dignity and purpose. Zira can show you better than I can explain." When she saw the council, her patterns flickered with nervousness. These were the most important Velkir in her entire civilization. Their opinion would determine not just her future, but the future of every Velkir who might face similar challenges. "Zira, daughter of Korin and Lissa," Elder Syrax addressed her formally, "show us what the humans have taught you." She performed traditional dances that every Velkir learned as children. She executed intricate spirals and loops. She demonstrated speed, precision, and control that rivaled natural flyers. But then she did something unexpected. She created a new dance, one that incorporated movements impossible for natural Velkir flight. She spun in multiple directions simultaneously. She changed elevation with sudden bursts of speed. She hovered perfectly still, then exploded into motion. The harness allowed her to explore dimensions of movement that organic wings could never achieve. The council watched in stunned silence. When Zira finally descended and deactivated her harness, settling gently onto the deck, no one spoke for several long moments. Elder Nissa broke the silence. "That was extraordinary. You have not simply regained what you lost. You have discovered something entirely new." But that choice does not exist. The only real choice was between giving up completely or finding a new way forward. These humans showed me that new ways are not inferior ways. They are simply different. I am old, young one. My wings grow weak. Soon I will face the same choice that was presented to you. I always assumed I would accept the traditional ending when that time came, but seeing you now, I wonder if I have been wrong all these years. Honored counsel, I must confess something. When Dr. Webb first arrived with his proposal, I thought he was foolish. I believed he was giving false hope to a girl who should accept her fate, but I was wrong. The humans understand something we forgot. They know that the spirit inside matters more than the body that contains it. You have the opportunity now to expand what it means to be Valkyr, to make room in your culture for all your children, regardless of their physical form. This technology will be made available to all Valkyr who need it. We will work with human specialists to train our own doctors and engineers. More than that, we will examine all of our cultural practices that exclude those with physical differences. This is not abandoning our traditions. This is allowing our traditions to grow. On Velkara Prime, manufacturing facilities produced mobility harnesses using both human technology and Valkyr crystal engineering, creating devices even more advanced than the original prototype. Zira became the face of this revolution. She traveled to schools across Valkyr space, demonstrating her harness and speaking to young people about resilience and hope. She helped 17 other Valkyr, individuals who had been living in isolation, to receive their own mobility devices. Each one returned to society with renewed purpose. The Galactic Council took notice. Representatives from dozens of species visited Velkara Prime to observe the transformation. Many went home inspired to examine their own cultural biases about physical difference. Marcus prepared to return to Earth, his work complete. On his final day, Zira met him at the docking bay. She performed the greeting of dawn one last time, hovering before him with her patterns blazing brilliant colors. "You saved my life," she said simply. "But more than that, you showed my entire people how to truly value life." Through the viewport, he could see Zira and several other Valkyr soaring through the corridors, their harnesses glowing like stars. He thought about the girl who had begged for death just months ago, now leading others toward life. Sometimes, he reflected, the greatest achievement was not in creating new technology. It was in helping others see that every life held infinite possibility. The transport jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying Marcus home. Behind him, the Valkyr civilization continued its transformation, proving that even ancient cultures could learn, grow, and embrace new definitions of what it meant to fly. The END Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 4.5